I was sent this post, and I think that this is a great discussion for us to have. This is about relationships of all kinds, romantic relationships, family relationships, friendships, acquaintances at work. How you talk to people is very important. So she says, my boyfriend is brutally honest to the point it gets hurtful. So she's 23 and her boyfriend is 23. So she says, my boyfriend is really honest. He holds that as a value that I can, in fact, really appreciate in the grand scheme. But when it comes to disagreements, he tends to be brutally honest. I personally did get used to it, but it regularly creates arguments with our friends, and he's lost friendships to that. For him, the more he cares about someone, the more he's honest, which I can understand. But for me, some things should stay untold, or at least be said in a nice way, so a person hearing it doesn't get too hurt. This particular way of thinking did cause multiple arguments between him and our mutual friends, and honestly, between us. He seems to not be able to understand how being sweet and thoughtful when handling conflict can lead to a faster resolution. He thinks that saying the truth with any sparkles or bows to make it more acceptable is a hypocrite. We've had tons of conversations on that, some arguments even, and honestly, I can see where it comes from, but I don't think it's a really nice way to play it out. In fact, he's lost many friends to that behavior, and he thinks that if people can't handle the truth and how they could have effed up, they aren't valuable friends. I don't really know where to stand with that because I tend to be a people pleaser. And when I say things, I tend to say it with lots of sparkles around it and in the nicest, most kind way possible, even if I've been hurt, which can also lead to me omitting certain things to make the situation better, faster, and obviously not tell the raw truth. So maybe he's kind of right. How do we get around that? I know we should both work on our issues, but what approach do you think is best when saying things to people? Brutal honesty, sparkling truth that can sometimes lead to half truth? I honestly don't know anymore because my people pleaser manners did put me in some tough spots, but his honesty did too. And the thing is, there is some middle ground. You don't have to line everything up with sparkles, and you don't have to be an a-hole that pushes all of your friends away. You can have tact where you can speak the truth but the thing is, hold on, speak the truth as you see it, because the truth is your perspective. There are facts which are undeniable. This is a tree. The fact of the matter is that is a tree and that's it. Your interpretation of that or your opinion of that tree is yours alone. This tree is annoying because it brings bees, it brings bugs. This tree is amazing because it provides shade. This tree brings me so much happiness because I think of it when I think of my grandmother. All of those things are true to that particular person. So those are truths, and truths can be, based on that person and their opinions and their experiences. So when you are giving your opinion on things, you have to kind of imagine how somebody else is going to take it. And did they ask you for your opinion on something? Unsolicited advice will get you effed up. And the thing is, some people just feel like when you disagree with them, that they need to hear your truth, your opinion, and you are going to just give it to them because you believe that your opinion is much more important than theirs. And that is your value system. Like she says, this is all about his value system. I don't necessarily know what she means by these honest truths or whatever, and what kind of disagreements that people are having. But if these these conversations are causing people to be repelled, he is going to be in a world of hurt. And this is going to be a loneliness epidemic of his own making because he hasn't learned tact. You can tell the truth and have tact as well. That way you can give your stance on things and you know when to pull back, because being right is one thing. Being right and just completely alienating yourself and isolating yourself is a whole nother thing. So that's where I stand on it. I do think that some of these things will have to be case by case, kind of role played or whatever, but you don't have to completely kowtow and fall down in the people pleasing situation just to keep people around. And then by the other end of the equation, I mean, like the pendulum swing, be like this person, and like someone smells bad and you just go up to them and say, you know what, bro, you stink. Like, what? This person could really stink, but just going up to somebody and saying that is obviously not going to be a way of keeping a connection or a relationship together, unless you just don't care because that person stinks. Let's get into a few of these comments. Shorty Colombo says, recovering people pleaser here. And this was my biggest revelation when I tried to break the habit. Our options aren't binary. Our choices aren't just brutal, direct, cruel honesty or burying our words in sorries, sparkles, and frills until our original point gets lost. The most freeing thing in the world was to realize I could just have standard diplomacy when expressing my feelings, and only unreasonable people actually take it badly. And I don't want to be friends with unreasonable people. You can kindly take people's feelings into account and be extremely clear about what bothers you. It's a crucial skill in the working world and our social lives. So I do agree that both ends of the spectrum you presented are unhealthy mechanisms to deal with disagreements. I admit that I have less patience with people who have ideals like your boyfriend because it fails to consider nuance and basic kindness. It can easily fall into sounding like the Holden Caulfield-esque philosophy that I stopped having for a long time ago. Now, I don't really know who Holden Caulfield is, so I don't really know that reference. I think this person is spot on. You can definitely have some middle ground. You don't have to be an a-hole to people to get your point across. Tact is definitely the way to go. There's some middle ground here. Okay, so Mud Bunny says, it's funny how people who are brutally honest are only ever honest when it hurts people. You never hear how someone is brutally honest and telling people how awesome they are. Almost like claiming to be brutally honest is just a cover for being an a-hole. And then Brightwing says, ding ding, same with it's just a joke. Weird how if you're honest back about how they hurt your feelings and what they said was uncalled for, or make a joke back, suddenly it's all, why are you so sensitive? You're overreacting, can't say anything around you, etc. They don't value honesty. They just want a get out of being an a-hole for free card. They and nobody else. That's exactly right. And then we got Von Aether saying people who call themselves brutally honest care much more about the brutal part and much less about the honest part. And then the OP weighs in saying, I should say he never called himself brutally honest. I did add the brutally. He's not really taking pride in it too. He is just blunt when there is a conflict. If by brutal honesty you mean people going to tell other people your outfit is ugly, just being honest, then he's not like that. I don't know if it's because I'm not a native speaker, but people seem to understand that he's just plain mean to everyone freely, which he's not. My original post lacked an example and maybe more details on when the bluntness arises, and I'm sorry for that. And yes, maybe it is her fault for not including an example because it just gave us the range to be able to try to figure it out for ourselves what she meant by brutal honesty. And most of us seem to have arrived at the fact that, yes, this person is an a-hole. But anyways, it still led us to this conversation that we're having today. So go ahead, let me know what you think. Where do you land on this? Do you land on the brutal honesty side? Are you a people pleaser? Or do you aim for some kind of tact? Go ahead, join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. People are going to have to let these child-free people live their lives and stop trying to butt in and control them. So this was posted in the Childfree subreddit. I think this was sent to me or I was tagged in this. She says, parents pushing me to adopt nephew. She says, I'm 41. I have chosen to be child-free. My partner and I do not want kids. We like kids. So if someone does not want kids, do not push kids on them. That will be a miserable existence for that child. She says, I have a half sister who I was raised with. She has 2 kids, but my parents have adopted both. Half sister has a meth dependency and mental problems. She has chosen meth over her kids time and time again. Neither father is in the picture. Fast forward. Her oldest is 20 and living on her own. Her youngest is 6 and just started kindergarten. My parents got custody of him when he was 1.5. They eventually adopted him. My parents are in their late 60s, and my dad just began treatment for stage 4 lung cancer. They are preparing for end of life and keep pushing me and my partner to take full custody and adopt my nephew when they die. Please note, my mother has no major health conditions, but isn't sure she'll be able to care for my nephew when my dad dies. I love being an aunt. I live 7 hours away. But when I go to my parents, I spoil my niece and nephew. I love the time I spend with them. However, when I leave, I feel a huge relief that I don't have kids. My mom had a hard time 15 years ago when I was 100% decided I was not going to have kids. She thinks they are a blessing from God and blah, blah, blah. I do not want the emotional and financial burden of being responsible to raise a human being, especially one that came from my half sister. She caused issues in my life since I can remember. I don't think it should be my responsibility to raise her kids just because we're half sisters. I think it is in my nephew's best interest to be with my parents or guardians who want to be parents. My cousin has told my parents since they got custody that if I was unsure or didn't want to adopt Lincoln, they would. My cousin and her husband are great parents. They dedicate themselves to their kids. I'm curious what others think, or if any of you have ever been in this situation. It really hurts my feelings that my own mother is pressuring me to do something I know in my heart would not be the right choice for me or my nephew. And so this part right here, this child has a place to go. This child has a soft landing spot with a person who actually wants to be a parent, her cousin. So it's not like this child is just going to be left out in the cold. This mom is just being a busybody and wants to plant a child in this woman's life because she thinks that kids are a blessing from God. Kids are not a blessing to someone that doesn't want them, and it is not a blessing for that child to go live with somebody that doesn't want to be a parent. Stop doing this. Stop thinking because you decided that something was great, that means the same thing for someone else. And your children are not an extension of you. Your children are their own humans that have their own beliefs, ideas, tastes, how they want to live their lives, value system. They're not going to do something simply because you did. Leave these child-free people alone. Chevril Freak says, no one should be pushing a child into the care of someone who doesn't want to be a parent and isn't prepared to be one. Your parents have had 4+ years to figure out other arrangements for taking care of your nephew. It's not your responsibility to solve their lack of planning for them. And then she honed in on this part. I think it's in my nephew's best interest to be with parents or guardians who want to be parents. And then they say exactly that. She says, my cousin told my parents since they got custody that if I was unsure, they would adopt. And so this person says, wait, so there's someone else already lined up to take care of the kid? Then what's your mom's issue then? This really isn't about the kid at all. I guess she just wants to make you have kids one way or another. Sounds like mommy dearest needs some boundaries and a reality check. And then the OP weighed in. This really isn't about the kid at all. I guess she just wants to make you have kids one way or another. And then the OP says, thank you. I never thought of that before. Then Nadol says, is there any way you can start the arrangement for your cousins to take custody? I'd start there for your parents if they keep pushing this. No, it is not this woman's responsibility to do that. She says, I'd also stop arguing over it. I'm happy to transport him to your cousin's family for you. I want him. No, I don't agree with this at all. So I'm going to stop. These people are honing in on the mom just wants her to have kids one way or another. And this person says, nail, meat, head. PMB Pro says, exactly. Well said. Also, yes, hidden reasons or ulterior motives aren't unheard of either. Hooker Monkey 84. now that's a name, says, if I believed in spending money to give Reddit awards, I'd definitely give you one for this comment. I bet that is exactly what the mother is thinking. She obviously isn't thinking of the kid's best interest, but her own desire to be a grandmother. I'm glad OP saw this comment too. The cousin is more than willing and happy to expand her family unit to include Lincoln, and that is probably the best place for him. Hopefully, OP's mom comes around and sees this, but I'm sorry, maybe OP needs to show mom the comments, but that may be tricky depending on what kind of woman she is and how she is taking her husband's diagnosis. And my deepest sympathy to OP for what her father is going through. This person says, I'm betting this is her way of forcing OP to be a parent, like a petty FU to OP's choice to be child free. Wrestling Woman at the bottom says, don't do it unless you're 100% for the idea, which you clearly aren't. Defective Pomeranian says, exactly. Good on you, OP, for seeing that the kids should be with a parent or guardian who wants to be such. You should totally allow your cousins to adopt him if your parents can't handle him. I'm glad that so many people are this even keeled in speaking to this woman. And I'm glad that child-free people are having these boundaries, having these conversations out loud, and not being pressured to do something that they don't want to do, because that's only going to make people resentful. And it looks like the other two comments on here are pretty much saying the same, so I won't repeat it. But know your value system. That way, when people try to push your boundaries, you can push back. And you do have to sometimes role play the things that you're going to say, because sometimes these people are overbearing. And when they are parents or someone that you used to look up to as an authority figure or leader, it might be a little bit more challenging, but you have to flex that muscle by practicing. All right, y'all, join the conversation. Let me know what you think of this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I came across this Threads post a couple of days ago where this woman shared these screenshots where this man was saying that dating was for white people, basically. But she says, Bree, why are you single? Because this. And she says, apparently dates now are a white person thing. And she shared these screenshots, and I was definitely tickled. So the man is in black, the woman is in blue. All right, so the woman says, so how do you get to know someone without dates? And he says, that's a question. So you're saying a date is the only way to get to know someone? I think that's propaganda. She says, yes. So let me ask you, the first time you meet someone from online, where do you meet them? Dates aren't the only way to get to know someone after you have met them initially. And he says, I meet people in person. She says, you met me online. If you wanted to see me in person, where would you suggest? He says, if someone is interested, then we will see each other. She says, where? LOL, you still aren't answering my question. And he does a face palm. And then he says, why do females be so pressed on a date? It's like an epidemic. Just want to be seen. And she says, it's not the date I'm pressed about. I'm asking because I don't do meetups at my place or the man's place when I first meet someone. I can take myself out anywhere I want to go. So I don't care about a date. I do care about being properly dated. He says, you care about the image. You want it not organic. She says, the image, laughing my butt off. Nobody is going to see us together, sir. I don't post or even talk about men I'm dealing with until I've been dealing with them for an extended period of time. He says, you want to feel white. And then she gives this picture of Samuel L. Jackson saying, what? You can't feel a color. He says, but you can be programmed. And she says, so dates are a white person thing. He says, dates are corny. Then he says, what is the definition of a relationship? I think people use that word without knowing the actual definition. She says, laughing my butt off. It's fine. You and me are looking for two different things. I'm looking for a traditional relationship where I am courted and energy is reciprocated and we get to explore the city and world together. While you, I don't even know what you're looking for. I hope you find someone willing to settle. And he says, I see you don't know the definition, LOL. I hope you find a simp that is willing to settle for your black skin white mask. Okay. And he continues, I think you should read more. You sound social media influenced. You are a black woman, he put that in quotes, that wants to be treated like a white woman. And she says, no, baby, I'm real life influenced because I live a real life as a black woman every day. You sound like you follow Derek Jackson or Kevin Samuels or them weird ass podcasters. Disgraceful. And she keeps asking questions. Enlighten me on how white women are treated. He says, LOL, add real life influenced. He says, it's only weird because it's the truth. She says, again, enlighten me on how white women are treated. He says, read. She says, do you think white women are better than black women? He says, I take it you had a white education. She says, so black women should be okay with crumbs and a whole lot of nothing, but white women deserve the world. He says, nah, black women should be more natural and stop acting like crumbs. Okay. He continues with thirst for dates, fake hair and nails, makeup. She says, you hate black women. Got it. Welp, blocked. And he says, gaslight. People use the word gaslight so wrong, just like how they use narcissist. And it's just like some accountability. There's so many words that they don't really know how to use. But I do believe that she kept this going a little bit too long, even as I'm just reading it back for y'all. But clearly he just didn't want to go on dates, and he just wants somebody who's okay with just hooking up or Netflix and chill. And that's fine if he finds someone that is like that. People do what they want to do, but not everybody is going to be like that. And it's best to figure that out quickly and then X folks off of your list quickly and then keep it moving. That's it, and that's all. JL Boxing says, on behalf of all white women, we do not want him either. He sounds exhausting. Pharma Noob says, he was quick to throw out the word simp. That's the go-to buzzword for guys that are not where they want to be in life and are unable to do things that most men can do, i.e. date and court a woman properly. And then this person, Tay, says, every day I feel bad for black heterosexual women because I'm convinced black men hate black women. It's hard out there. It's hard. Dating is now a white woman thing. That's crazy. That's wild. I thought y'all should know that. Now you know. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.